It's Thursday. This is Analea Brown and Dada Butte. It's called All We Need Is Love. You can find it on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, all the platforms. And so I'm Deslynn Jaquias. I am the host of Healing with Aloha. I launched my podcast last year. You can find it on anchor.fm, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. And so it's an honor and a privilege to be on here. I come on live every Thursdays at 8:30 on Facebook and every Fridays at 8 a.m. on Instagram, Healing with Aloha. So if you wanted to join the lives, it's every week on Thursdays here at 8:30 a.m. Hawaii time, and every Fridays on Instagram at 8 a.m. And I really encourage you to participate in the discussions. Um, we just talk about like grief and loss, self-care, and also we address like mental health. And so, with further ado, I'd like to start today's conversation. So, I wanted to share about someone's here. Hi. It's okay to not be okay. And the reason why I felt it was important, especially right now, we need to be reminded it's okay to not be okay. We are transitioning, we're constantly transitioning, and we don't know what's next. And sometimes we can get overwhelmed and stressed out because we don't know what's next. And so when my sister died back in 2001, she was in a vehicle accident and it just happened instantly right after her accident. What I learned back in 2001, and mind you, my sister, she died 11 days after September 11, with that whole event that happened in the U.S. What I learned is sometimes when things happen in our lives, it can just feel like you're in a tunnel. I don't know if you ever heard of that analogy. It's like when you go through something new, you feel like you're in a tunnel and you just want to get through that tunnel. You just want to see the light and you want to get through. However, depending on what you're experiencing in life, depending on what you're going through, whether it's you're grieving because someone you love died, yes, knowing that it's okay not to feel okay has helped. Yes, no, totally. And I really wanted to drive that point home. There's so much pressure that comes from the outside that we put on ourselves. And I think when I was 26 years old, that's when my sister died and she was 23. You just feel like this immense pressure to be okay. Like, I'm okay. Like you gotta go back to life, go back to work, you go back to school or whatever responsibilities you have. And we want so much to just be okay. Well, the issue is we got to look back at what we consider the definition of strong. Sometimes we tell ourselves, I got to be strong. I got to be okay. Well, who told you being strong doesn't involve crying? Who told you being strong doesn't involve you sitting down and reflecting on your life and deciding what I'm doing with my life isn't what I want? The people that are in my life aren't loving, they aren't supportive, and it's not helping me. Like, where did it ever come up that those things were wrong? And a lot of times we let society, yes, like boys are told not to cry. Like, why are you crying for? Stop crying. Don't cry. And that's not right, because everybody's different. We all respond to life differently. Yes, when you tell your child, especially like boys, don't cry, as if it's a weakness, then you teach them that it's that they're not allowed to be sad. Who who in their right mind can go through life and not feel emotions? There is no bad or good labels to any kind of feelings or emotions. It's just how we share it. It's how we do it, what we feel and whatnot. And that is something that I learned, like becoming a parent. And I know, Tara, you can relate, and Karen. Uh, when I raised my son, I got married. I had no intentions of getting divorced, but life happens, and I became a single mother at the when my son was only 2.5 years old, and so my sister died in 2001, and then I got divorced 8 years later, and I became divorced and a single mother, and I was scared. And again, it's like you're grieving your life. Like, what you thought was going to be your life is no longer your life. And I think a lot of people feel that way right now with the pandemic. And maybe you're not working, or maybe you lost your job. You feel this immense sadness. You feel this loss, and you don't know what's next, and you feel scared. The biggest thing I instilled in my son from a young age is that he's loved, and that God loves him, that I'm imperfect, but he's loved. And I think, in essence, that's what we as human beings want to feel, that we're loved, that no matter if we have a job, if we don't have a job, if we have a house, we don't have a house, if we have money in the bank, we don't have a bank, that the people that are in our lives are genuine, and that they love us, in the good and the bad times. And that's powerful. And not everybody has that. And so when we go through transitions in life, like when someone we love dies, for example, or when we get divorced, we can feel like it's all final. Like what we're going through, it's final. With with people passing, they're going from this life to the next. And the love that they had for you is still equal for you. It's just the ability to touch them and feel them and hang out with them isn't there. But I learned that the love that they had for us is the same. And them wanting us to be happy is still the same. So even though they're not here, we have to give ourselves permission to still be happy and to still have joy in our hearts. However, there's going to be days when you're not going to feel okay, that you're going to be crying, and it's okay. And that is something I made sure my son knew. It was okay for him to cry. Like when he cries, because, he gets scolding for doing something that, is not safe when he was little. He cries because he doesn't want to disappoint me. Your child doesn't want to disappoint you. However, what I learned was to explain to him that even when mom's mad at you, I still love you. And then even more, he's crying, and that's the thing too. Even when you guys are living your lives every day and you're trying to move forward in being a mom, being a dad, being a grandparent, being a friend, being a daughter, being a son. Even when you feel you're not, in your mind, the best, or you're not performing, you're doing fine. Because your best is good enough. To you, you feel I'm not doing enough. But the thing is, to you, it's 50%. But to someone else, they look at you and that's 100%. And so, sorry, I'm crying. I didn't know I was going to get this emotional. We have to step back and journal and meditate on why we put so much pressure on ourselves to be who we're not or who we should be. The expectations we put on ourselves, it brings us more pain than it does bring us happiness. And that's why it's important, it's important to understand it's okay to not be okay. You're not going to have all the answers. You're not going to know how to deal with every situation because it's new. And as much as you want to instill good things into your child, they're going to make decisions based upon what they think is right. It doesn't make you as a parent a bad parent. It doesn't make you, like you didn't do your best. It's just we're humans and we got to live our lives. And we almost have to tell ourselves every day, it's okay. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to cry. It's okay to feel sadness, to feel anger, to feel shock, to feel numb. It's okay. Because our minds have tricked us to believe that we have to perform all the time. We have to be at a certain caliber to be happy. Like if we're not making a lot of money, then we're worthless. But that's not true. And so I had to share that. I'm on social media. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok. And I'm noticing on TikTok, everybody associates TikTok with people dancing, singing, comedy, and whatnot. However, I've been coming across a lot of people on that platform just being really vulnerable, real honest. You have this lady share her son's experience right after the fact that the dad ended his life through suicide, and sharing his experience and his frustration and his sadness for his dad. And then you have someone sharing about how they feel so lonely and they film themselves crying because they feel like they have no one. And then you have other people share their experiences of dealing with criticism for the way they look. And I didn't expect that from that platform, from TikTok. But what I respect is it takes courage for people to be honest, to share your story, and to let people into your life. And I just feel that if that is what is helping them in their emotional well-being and their mental health, and the people in the comments, they're very supportive, very loving, and they reach out to these people on TikTok. I think that's beautiful. We can tend to hold back, especially if we're professionals, business professionals, or we're pursuing a career. We can tend to hold back from being vulnerable, from being open, because we don't want people to think, oh, if she's emotional, then I can't do business with her. or whatnot. But the thing is, you want to attract people that you can be real with. You don't want to be fake and try to keep to this expectation and standard that doesn't reflect who you are. Anyways, if you've decided to do business with people. And so I want to ask you, I don't know who's on here because I know you guys all work and whatnot. Uh, what is one thing that has really helped you to express yourself? It could be journaling. It could be music, art, music. What is one thing? If you're on the replay, you can share it in the comments. What is one thing that has helped you when you're having a difficult time? Because I know, and you know, we're not the only ones that have difficult times. I also wanted to share that I am so grateful since starting this podcast, Healing with Aloha, that I've had the honor and privilege of interviewing therapists, people who've become writers through Instagram, people who've been doing just great things in healing for years, and this is like their first time being on a podcast, and I thankful because it takes courage, and for me, interviewing people, it's a really special connection because I'm such a soft-hearted person. It takes everything in me to not break down crying because I just want to reach through the camera and just hug them because for some of them they're grieving or they've come a long way in their lives, yet some of the relationships that they've crossed paths with wasn't helping them. It was more hurtful for them. And so having people come onto the podcast has been a really special connection. And if you've never listened to the podcast Healing with Aloha, it's on Spotify, Anchor.fm, Apple Podcasts, and it's just a way of you guys understanding that you can feel like you're all alone. You can feel so isolated, but when you hear the different messages, the different stories through the podcast, it just makes the world, like it just seems like you seem so small in this world. But when you listen to other people, you just feel like this, like you feel connected. You feel like that's my story. I can relate to that person. That's how I've been feeling. And then you can decide, maybe I should follow that person on Instagram or Facebook, whatever platform they're at. It allows you to connect with someone else. It's the whole thing also about when you're grieving, when you're transitioning in life, is to find a support group, a really loving support group. It can be one person, it could be two. Online on Facebook, for example, there's all these private groups. If you just search like a particular thing like grief and loss, domestic violence survivor, or mental health, if you have a certain health issue that you're working on, you can look it up. And there's groups that are online that are private. You have to answer questions, and if and they'll let you in if based upon how you respond to the questions. But then you'll find in these groups you have an opportunity to meet people that are like you, that have gone through similar situations, and you can listen to what they're sharing, or you can share like what you're going through in life, and it's good because sorry, I'm trying to. It's good because it allows you to have a community of other people. They may not be in your city, may not be on your island, they may not be in your state, they might be in a different country. However, when you're able to connect with someone and express your thoughts and feelings, your beliefs, your values, it it's good. It's really good to not feel so isolated and so alone, especially now during the pandemic. The one thing that I really wanted to just express is that you are an amazing person, that God created you and with love, and maybe you've gone through some difficult, challenging times that people who are in your life don't even know about. However, if you can just share with one person what you've been through, then the fears and insecurities you feel that if people really knew me, they wouldn't like me. But if you can just share with someone you trust, hi, I can't see who's on here. Um, if you just share with one person that is trustworthy about what you've been through that has brought you a lot of pain, then you don't feel like you're carrying this secret. A lot of times we feel like we're carrying secrets, whether it's from our childhood or even as adults, and we can feel fearful, like, oh, you feel shame, you feel fearful, you don't want people to judge you. One of the thoughts that I had growing up was, if you really knew me, you wouldn't like me. And that is such a burden to carry. It's a burden to carry the fear of people not liking you. And so what happens is you have a hard time getting close to people. You can't get close to people because in the back of your mind, like, you wouldn't like me, so you hold back. But do you really want to live your life like that? Like, and I realized that I don't. And so I have to start being courageous and sharing my truth, my secrets that maybe I had to hold growing up, and I couldn't do it anymore. And it's okay. So what happens is when you tell your truth, the ones you think is horrible or, oh, people are not gonna like me, when you have the courage to do it, you find out that other people has something to share that they never shared with anybody. But because you are able to express something so I was gonna say so secretive, but something that is so sensitive, that you give people permission to do the same. Giving people permission to express who they really are is powerful, because then we feel all lighthearted. Yeah? When we feel like, oh, I have nothing I'm hiding. Like, I told someone. Like, it's not keeping you a prisoner. You're not holding back. You can just freely live, because you know that the worst that you thought was the worst, you shared it with someone and they still love you, they still accept you. And so you just continue on your life in that manner. And so I just want to commend you for having the courage to share your heart with someone. If it's not a friend or family, it could be a stranger, someone who you respect because they're honest about the same thing that you're going through. And then it gives you courage to share with them, and then it gives them courage to know that someone can relate to them, and it just becomes something that is good. And so no matter how much you've been through, always remember that you being you is enough, and you're so amazing, and the people that you love and the people that you miss, they're still cheering you on, and they still want to see you happy, and they're with you in spirit, and they love seeing you happy. It's okay to cry. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to grieve. However, this year makes 19 years since I heard my sister's voice, because, you know, that was her timing. However, I know my sister would rather me live the rest of my life filled with pockets of joy and happiness and laughter, and to love others the way she loved us. And so, thank you for joining me. I really appreciate your time. Please check out the podcast, Healing with Aloha, on Spotify, Anchor.fm, Apple Podcasts. The website is www.healingwithalohapodcast.com. If you're interested in being a special guest, you can send me a private message through Facebook, or you can email me at healingwithalohapodcast@gmail.com. But I'm sending you all my love. If you're on Instagram tomorrow, I'll be there at 8 a.m. Hawaii time, and I'd be honored to have you there. But it's more of a discussion. If you want to jump on, you can request to jump on the discussion with me. But you have a beautiful day. It's Thursday, guys. Aloha.